You're listening to the Failed Musician Podcast, hosted by me, 444. So for this episode, I'm going to talk about recording and how I record. My own little way that works for me. I'm happy with my song quality. I'd love to go back and remix everything. I've always recorded everything hoping that one day that could happen for someone who's like really good and not someone like me. I'm like decent. I don't think I can mix other people's stuff. I can get my stuff sounding good, but I just don't go that intense in the mixing process because I'm just so burnt out by the time I'm done making a song. And I like to just put stuff out immediately. So I'll finish a song and just tweak it pretty much. Maybe take a little break, like 15 minutes, come back, and then like your ears kind of reset. Even just like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, it really helps just to take a tiny, tiny break, walk away, stand up. And yeah. So for a while, I was recording, like if you listen to my Child of God album, that was the first one I ever recorded. And that was in 2015. So that one was strange. I worked at Olive Garden. I saved up money. I bought a bunch of mics, drum mics, a condenser mic for my amplifier, and a dynamic mic for my amplifier, right? Yeah. I can't even remember. It's embarrassing. An amp mic, SM57, and what else did I get? I think that was it. My NT1A vocal mic, which is right here. Rode this thing. So I recorded with those. That's a great mic if you mix it right. I barely mix it. So what I do, I say don't do it this way. You can do it to start. I say do my easy way and then go on YouTube. Listen, there's tons of great engineers online. You probably know people that are amazing. What I do when I record is I record DI into a Focusrite Scarlett, which who doesn't have one of those? I used a Persona Studio Live board for my first couple albums, which I love, but it burned up. I just got a new one, and then my iMac, which I plugged in new, died. So I'm just using the Scarlett, and I love it. And I thought it sounded kind of like it didn't have all the body that my other preamp had, but it's great. So I use that. I record my guitar, which is a what's it called? A Strat. I'll go grab it. This is my Stratocaster. I love it. 40th anniversary edition. Yeah. It has Texas specials like the Stevie Ray Vaughan pickups, which I love so much. I don't use any pedals at all. I used to use an amp. I used to record with an amp. I don't do any of that now. I just plug DI. I just plug it right into the Focusrite Scarlett, into my iMac. I run Logic Pro on it, the newest version, and just master that. Master Logic. It's easy. Learn the key commands. There's videos all over for that online. Learn the key commands so you can get quick. These things changed my life in a big way and made music so much easier for my last couple of albums. It really just upped the quality a ton. And that was, I got Splice. So Splice is like an app that you download, and you get credits monthly, and you can download sounds off of it. So I got Beatmaker, which is the drum one. So you can download samples and presets, which the presets are just the sound. Samples like a whole drum beat. I don't really use a lot of samples in my music. Um, so what I do is I download a bunch of sounds. Okay, for the drums, I get a bunch of different drum sounds. I have the synthesizers, Serum and Astra, and they have some really beautiful sounds, both of them. I think Astra's my favorite though. I usually use Serum for digital bass. Go through the presets on there. There's hundreds of thousands, and just pick out ones you like. Store them up. Um, and just the drums. I mean, I don't even mix the drums. I think I like usually just like boost the kick a hair in the EQ, and then like lower the snare a bit. And I double them. I always put two. I double everything if it needs to be, unless it's like a synth part. I won't. Yeah, I won't double like a synth unless it needs it. So for synth sounds, I use like those two synthesizers, Serum and Astra. You download songs. They're from Splice too. So you just download Splice. It's a monthly subscription. Get the synthesizers on it. There's a couple different ones. Do that 100%. It makes life so much easier. There's so many sounds on it that are modern. I remember always being like, oh, I need modern sounds. My stuff sounds so old. It's like, yeah, you're using Logic presets. That's why your stuff sounds old and sounds the same. So, and there's nothing wrong with presets. You get some really cool sounds out of like stock plugins and stuff like that. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. I use it all the time. I use the same like voice thing. If you ever hear like the ah ah, you ever hear that like in my music? It's 100% because I love those sounds. And I also use this one arpeggiator thing that's like that you don't know what the hell I'm talking about from that. So that doesn't help at all. So there's that. But yeah, so download those. Then next for my amp, what I use is a digital amp, and it's called a Neural DSP. I don't know how to pronounce that. Neural. It's Neural space capital DSP. I have a couple different amps that I got from them. Around holidays, you can really get them cheap. Dude, the difference in quality of guitar, like I will never probably record a guitar through an amp again unless I'm like in a studio that's not my basement, or I want to record like feedback, because you can't really do that otherwise. So go get those amps. It's worth it 100%. I have one that's like Salvando or something, and the other one is the Tim Henson amp, which is pretty good. Like there's some really good sounds in there. You just gotta hunt for them. Like I think I use Glimmer or Shimmer or something a lot, which is like a shoegazy clean guitar sound. But yeah, I mean I was doing amp by amp and just plain D. Sometimes I use plain DI if I want like a squeaky, funky kind of sound, and that's fine, but it gets kind of muddy. So I really think those amps are the way to go. 100%. They sound incredible. If you know like a better amp, totally comment it and I'll check it out for sure. But I'm like pretty happy with my recording setup. Now for drums, I haven't recorded real drums since in 2 years. It's been 2 years. I just started once I got that Beatmaker thing. I absolutely love it. I mean, even if I'm doing when I record on a real drum set, I mean, I love parts. I'm not really worried about like fills and stuff like that, which will drive like a real drummer crazy. Like random accents. If it needs it, I'll use it. But most of the time, my stuff's been pretty straightforward drum wise. If you listen to my older stuff, like my album Reckoning, that's like really proggy and like all over the place and like wacky beats and shit. But yeah, I just use the digital drums and keep them pretty simple. If you want real sounding drums on the digital drum, on the Beatmaker, it sounds great. And then it has tons of great, like, fake sounds. I'm not scratching my butt. That's my back, I swear. So, yeah, there's that. When I record, what I do is I record a guitar, I pan it all the way to the left. I record another guitar and pan it all the way to the right. This is wrong. That creates what's it called? Phasing, which you don't want. I don't care. I think it sounds good. It does the job for me, and I can pump stuff out quickly. I'm happy with it. So whatever. Then I record another guitar. I pan it to 45 degrees to the left and 45 degrees to the right. And there's I do the rhythm guitar all the way out usually, and then like the lead guitar, I'll double it to 45 degrees on each side. Then I'll do drums, or I'll start with drums, or usually I just lay down a beat and then I just like start writing, because I've been writing a lot on the computer for like the last couple of years. I love it. It's so much easier. What I'll do next is I just play it on like a MIDI keyboard with my fingers, or on my actual keyboard, the drum part. I'll double it. Sometimes I'll add cymbals and accents and other stuff. And then I'll go to bass. Oh, on my guitars, I mean, I mix everything as I go. So once I do the guitar, I'll boost the EQ a bit, like towards the bass, not all the way low to the bass, because then you'll get like mud, but a little bit up from the bass. I boost it a tiny bit so it sounds like thick and full, but you don't want it too much. As soon as it sounds like thick and full, you kind of want to bring it down a bit. That's kind of like my rule for myself. And then the high part always seems to be too high with the Neural DSP amp, so I always push the EQ on that down a hair too. So I do that. I EQ. I do that for the rhythm guitar. I always want the rhythm to have the bass boosted a bit, and then the lead guitar, I just play it by ear. Yeah. You can cut out the bass. It all depends how it sounds. Don't worry too much about looking, but feel it out. Then I'll do the bass. I'll record the bass next. And for the bass, I don't even, it's so bad. I don't compress it. And people that are audio engineers that hear my stuff are probably like you need to compress your vocals and all this stuff, which is true, you do, but I just don't have it in me by the time I'm done. I'm just like, I'm good. If it does the job and like has an emotion and sounds good to me and I like it, I'm good. I don't really worry about it. So I'll put the bass down. I'll EQ the bass. Okay, so I'll boost what's it called? The not the low end, but like right after the low end, a bit, and then I'll also like a little bit up towards it. My back's so itchy. I'm sorry. A little bit up. I'll push up I'll boost the what's it called? Like the lower mid range of hair, and maybe turn down the high end, or just keep it. It all depends what you hear, but you don't want to mess with it. And I always put it up to just under where I can hear it on my monitors, because I used to put it up to where I could hear it, and then you get in the car and it blows your ears out and all you hear is bass. And I have a lot of songs that I need to remix actually from that. So after that, I'll do the vocals usually, unless I want to do the synth next, if I feel it needs it next. But if not, I'll just do it later. So after that, I'll record vocals. I use the NT1A mic, like I said. You want to stay back a bit off it. You don't want to be too close, or it'll get real shitty sounding. I double it. I go one word at a time if I'm writing it. One word, one melody, or one line, one melody at a time as I'm going through the song. Then I'll double the song, double the lyrics, the vocal, which means recording it again, if you don't know that. And then I just go into the vocal. I listen. If I think it needs some more bass, I'll boost the bass a hair, and I'll just push the highs down, because usually the highs are, I don't know, it's just too bright or something. And usually that doesn't. And then I will go back and automate the vocal track. Maybe I'll group the two vocal tracks together, make a group, you highlight them, change the output to a bus, and then you just adjust. You right click on the bus, you hit create a new track, I believe, and a track will come up that's invisible almost. It's not invisible, but you'll see it'll say like bus 1, and there'll be just like an empty space, and you hit A to do automation, and you go in there and you click, and you have to look up a what's it called? You have to look up a tutorial on it, but it's real easy. You just go in there and customize the volume as you listen through the song. And when you're listening through, you don't want to let stuff go that that you notice. Change it immediately. Just change it immediately. This will save so much time instead of, like people say, there's a lot of like tail chasing and recording, and in my process I've tried to cut that down as much as possible because it'll drive you nuts. It is just, you can go crazy from mixing. So that's why I don't do it a lot. That's why I don't really go crazy on it. So next up is the synth. So I'll just add synth layers or different sounds. A thing I use a lot of is like video game sounds and stuff. So there's a sampler in Logic, okay? And not the quick sampler. My mind is blanking. What is that called? I don't know. But there's another sampler. It says sampler. Like if you create a new track, software instrument, click on the instrument in the track and look for the sampler. It's not the quick sampler. It's something else. I can't remember what it's called. I've used it thousands of times and I can't remember. But what you can do actually is you go online, you look it up, and you can download like video game albums, like video game sounds, like from like the soundtracks, like a different game, like Mega Man. Like I love Mega Man. I use the bass from Mega Man 8 literally all the time in a lot of my songs. I just love it so much. I use the sine wave sound from that. And it's real easy. Like you go online, you got to look it up. I forget the name of the files and everything. I think it's like SF2 file or something. I can't remember. And people have these sounds online. You just click download and then you drag them into your virtual synth folder, which is like you have to search for it in your Finder. You just like drag it into there and drop it, and then it'll pop up into you can use those sounds, which is amazing. It's so cool. Look it up. I explained it terribly, but I use them all the time. I have so many games sounds downloaded, and so I'll do that last. Usually, unless I start a lot of songs with synths too. I don't really double them unless it's like a weak part that sounds like it needs to be thicker. And that's pretty much what I do. And when I mix it, it's pretty much mixed by the end, so I'm just tweaking stuff. I mean, I might go into the master EQ, like the stereo, the master output, like the stereo output track or whatever. Click the EQ, and I'll like lower the bass to where the low end, where I feel like it needs to be. Usually that's all I'm doing. Sometimes I'll press up the highs because I do a lot of high cuts I think my ears just are damaged, so that's why I cut a lot of the highs, which a lot of people are like, you need the highs, but you do. I don't know, that's my process. So that's what I do. That's what I do for recording. I usually can knock out a song in about an hour, unless it's more complicated. A lot of the time I'm doing verse and chorus. I'm not adding a lot of other stuff. It'd be like verse, chorus, guitar solo. And I'm not very smart when it comes to song form. So like I do look at almost everything I do as verse and chorus. Even if the verse has like a million different parts in it. I just separate everything from the chorus. Like a chorus is pretty obvious. It's like the big hook part, But I have a lot of songs that aren't like that. I have a lot of songs that have tons of different sections, but don't worry about that. Like if a song's meant to have all those sections, you'll write it and it'll have those sections. That's how I record. And this is my MIDI keyboard. I got this from Sky Valley Records, one of the best record shops. the best record shop around. And yeah, I use that. And my guitar, I record real bass with the bass DI straight in. I don't even use an amp simulator or anything. I just plug in DI and EQ it. That's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else I do. I mean, sometimes I add reverb here and there. I use the Silververb thing. Not sometimes I add reverb. I always put a little bit of reverb on most things. Like on like a solo, like a guitar playing a solo, I'll always have EQ, reverb on. I don't always put it in the vocals. Like most of the time I do, but sometimes I just kind of leave stuff dry because I like how it sounds. So yeah, yep, that's it. That's pretty much it. Any questions, comment below, and I'll totally answer. You know, I've made like a lot of albums and stuff, so one thing I'm confident in is recording the wrong way. So have a good day, have a good night. Yeah, thanks for listening.